Hello and welcome to the Top Podcast. It is my absolute honor to welcome a new guest to the show. A man who looks cooler playing Super Hot in VR than most Navy SEALs do during their workday. A man who many refer to as their favorite grandpa. A man who once peed his pants and is here to tell you about it. And above all, the topper. I give you Arn.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Arn?
Happy to be here.
You peed yourself and you got a story for it?
Oh, I do have a story for it. It's nothing too incredibly crazy. It's like a little more than a year in the past now, so it's like, you can start like telling people and it's like, oh, that's fine.
Hold on, whoa.
A year?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, no, this is like kind of recent. It's okay. It's not as bad as it might sound given the context of the broader story. But yeah, the reason I thought of this question was because sometime in the past, like 6 months or something, it was me and then a group of my friends who we all worked together. We were just going through, we were cleaning things, the day is getting long, just talking about different stuff. This was one of the questions that got brought up, and since then it's just been in my permanent roster of like, potential icebreakers you can use, especially if it's people you're closer with, which, this is going out on the internet, so everyone's going to hear it, but...
We're international podcast.
Shout out, that is true. But yeah, shout out Zach for giving me this question. This would have been like last April. My family was camping. We all do homeschool, so like spring vacation is our big family vacation because we can take that time off, and then jumping into summer, my family works at a Bible camp, so that's basically off limits. We were out in the Smoky Mountains, just hanging out, having a great time. My family has a camper, so we have 4 people in the camper. Technically it can sleep all of us, but it would be like very cramped. So we also bring along our big tent. And then again, this was early April, so like even though you have a 3-season tent, when it gets to like 40 at night, it can get pretty cold in there. And then to make things worse, being on a cot is great, but cots get bloody cold when it's cold outside because you have
get
no
that
insulation
airflow under them.
Right. It can get frigid in there. So one of these nights, I guess I just had a bit too much to drink. Water, not anything else.
Boozing out on the family vacation?
I know, right? Yeah, I was when I be 17-year-old, for sure. I had a bit too much water in me, I guess, and then fell asleep fine. It must have been probably around like 3 a.m. I woke up. I had to pee really bad, and it was just so cold. Like I was curled up in a ball, sitting there freezing. I didn't want to go in the camper because then I'd wake people up. And we were on like a big campground, like RV park place. So there was like a community bathroom that you could go out and go to. So that's generally where I will anyway, just because they're a lot more convenient and nicer than like an RV bathroom. I'm sitting on this cot, laying on this cot in my sleeping bag. I have like 4 layers of clothing on because I knew it was going to get cold, but I'm still just sitting there freezing. It's just crazy how cold I am. Everything is like tucked in, tucked up close. My arms are right against my chest, and I just don't want to move. Like it's like I'm gonna conserve all the body heat I can. I guess that pee's in there keeping me warm, is great. And I just sat there for a few minutes, and I guess I fell back asleep. And then it's like you got the classic memory of like something going on with water in the dream. There's a river, I don't know. But then I wake up and it's actively wetting myself. I managed to stop the flow, and then just very quietly, it's like, okay, well, I can't just deal with my pants being wet anymore. Or so I'm not going to sleep through that. So I get out really quietly, get some new underpants and whatnot. Thankfully, nothing had leaked through. So it was basically like my underwear was soaked, and I'm going to change my pants anyway, just in case, but nothing got into like sleeping bag or anything. And then I just head out, go to the community bathroom, clean myself up, change my pants, rinse stuff out as best I can, and then go back to sleep and do laundry in the morning. So that's my story.
Dang, I don't know if we can top that.
That's hilarious because there's so many similarities between your story and my story.
Oh, I'm excited to hear it then.
Yeah, and I just want to preface this where Arn is the one that proposed this question, so we're not just on here be like, go ahead, tell us your pee story.
Yes. Yeah, this was my idea. Fear not.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so for me it was, I want to say it was middle school. It might have been late elementary school. It was like 5th or 6th grade, and I was wide awake. My buddy who lived down the street had a baseball game. For some reason, I tagged along. So it was just like me and his dad. It was also like, I think, springtime. So it was just like one of those cold days. It was cold. It was kind of rainy, whipping winds. And I was like, "Ooh, I gotta pee." And he was like, "Oh yeah, the bathroom's down there." And I couldn't find it. I walked up and down, and I have no idea what he was pointing to, but I could not find a bathroom. And like, it wasn't like it was a good option to go pee out like behind a tree somewhere. It's like, no, this is a ballpark. People are all over the place, multiple fields, lots of like little kids games going on. And I sat there and I was just like, I'm holding it. I'm freezing cold. And finally I was just like, I let a little bit go and I was like, hey, it's a little bit warmer than it was a minute ago. And so I stopped the flow, and then I just like waited, and then I got even colder because eventually that got the warmth left, and now I was cold and wet. And so I just kept portioning it out, trying to like keep myself warm. And like, he didn't say a word, I didn't say a word, and I just went home and changed my pants afterwards.
What's great?
Rationing your pee.
There you go.
No way.
But I gotta imagine I left the bleacher with like a puddle of urine just sitting where I was.
Well, mine has some tie to yours, Mike. So, I guess it's all circles back around. It's about, there's a tie to Arn. But one of them, it was definitely elementary school. Couldn't give you a grade, but we used to, I would have been at least 4th grade. So between 4th and 6th grade for me was elementary school. And for recess, we'd go out across, there's your standard playground just outside the school. But then across the parking lot was this field. They had a baseball diamond and everything because it's K through 12, so they have all the stuff, soccer field. And we sometimes, when it was warm out, the teachers or recess people would take us out to go to the field. There was a rule, though, that you couldn't run across the parking lot without a recess person. And I just remember one time we were out there playing baseball, and I had to go so bad. And I ran up to the recess lady, like, hey, I really got to go. She's like, no, we're going to go in soon. You got to wait and everything. So I'm like, all right, I got to hold it. And it got to the point where I couldn't hold it any longer. So I just peed my pants right there on the baseball field. Don't think anyone ever, I mean, obviously some people would know, but yeah, once we got back in, I like ran to the bathroom and accidentally spilled water all over me and all that, and that was my cover up. But
Classic.
I don't think I was fooling anyone.
Nice.
But I blame that recess person, that recess guardian.
Right.
She would just let me go to the bathroom. That wouldn't have happened.
Like so many great stories.
Yeah.
If you ever peed your pants, comment below and let us know.
We'll give you some
All the
topper
spicy
points.
detail.
Yep.
More points for a better story.
And it has to be 10 years old and up. Welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. It is very different than normal how we started out, but as we said, we have a special guest on, Arn, today, and we actually are recording in front of a live studio audience. My wife decided she couldn't be away from me. I think it's really she doesn't trust me and wants to make sure I don't say anything embarrassing about her, so she's sitting in the background with quote-unquote headphones on. I can't see if she's giving me a look, so I don't think they can...
Turn around to look at me and I see your wife, my wife, on your lips.
If I go quiet for a second, I'm probably getting hit or something for saying something wrong. Mike, do you want to tell them what we're talking about this week?
Yeah, so this week we're going to talk about our favorite added Minecraft features.
Yeah, so to start out, when did you guys start playing Minecraft?
So for me, I had just gone through a pretty rough breakup, and you actually came over to my apartment. And you brought your Xbox and we played some Rocket League, and then you were like, you want to play Minecraft? And normally I'd have been like, no, that sounds stupid. It's a dumb game for babies. But I was just kind of broken, I was really sad, and so I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And man, I fell in love so fast. I was just sitting there digging a little hole in a mountain and lining it with double chests, and it was the best. And yeah, the second I had money in my bank account, I went and picked it up, and there was no looking back.
How about you, Arn?
I told you guys this when I started. I said like I'm not like the hugest Minecraft person, which isn't to say I haven't played Minecraft super intensively. I haven't been like the most intensive player, but I've definitely gone through phases where it's like, okay, I've finished school and then 3 or 4 hours of my day for 2 weeks straight is gonna be Minecrafting away. It's just that type of game that sucks you in. But at least at the moment, I haven't been playing a whole lot of it, and then I also am having a couple issues with my account and like getting logged in.
Ooh.
But that's a whole separate thing aside from that. But yeah, so when the first time I started playing Minecraft, just as an introduction, I'm not really gonna count it, but was like playing Minecraft on I think it was a Kindle Fire 5.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah. Me and my brother convinced my mom, like, hey, this is a great investment of like $5 or whatever for this edition of Minecraft. I started plugging away at that, like really terrible at the game at the time when I was like, I must have been like 10 or something. Like just getting started, only creative, no survival.
Oh, you can't
just
do
like
pocket
building
survival.
things.
It's impossible.
Yeah, I was just building my little Star Wars spaceships in creative. But then the first time like I really got into it would have been 2019, just after Village and Pillage came out, like summer of
Nice.
2019, playing on the PS4 with first like real survival world we would play together. I was like basically spending the week with them. Just a really great experience playing with of course, but also just like falling in love with this game, and then I've just been off and on ever since as
Nice.
time allows. So
I'm kind of like you, Aaron, where I go in phases. I will go 6 months to a year without playing Minecraft, but then I get that itch, and it really gets hold of me, and I'll really play it for 2 weeks, usually pay for a new server, get my friends on, and then we all just kind of peter out in 2 weeks. I know Michael has definitely been on that end. I think you have too, Aaron. You've joined some of our servers you've been in. I don't know if it's any of the ones I've hosted. I actually started way back in my day when it was still in beta. I think it was around 2011, 2012. So it was I think Minecraft came out like alpha in 2010. So it was pretty early on. But I only had my friend's account, so I'd sign in and play it on his. Couldn't play multiplayer, and I kind of played it off and on. But I really got into it when it first came out in the Xbox 360s. I think that's still technically beta. I don't know all the versions. I probably should have looked them up for this, but I started really grinding there. Me and my buddy, who was my neighbor, came over and we'd play split screen and just making, houses and everything. And yeah, it's gone on from there. And now I don't even know what's going on in Minecraft with all these new updates. I'm old fashioned. But I just want to take this time to plug. If you guys like Minecraft and you like listening to Mike, he does have a Minecraft YouTube channel, BacoCraft. I don't think he would plug it himself, so I want to plug it for him. But Mike, why don't you tell us what your number 5 is?
My number 5 favorite feature added in Minecraft is Swift Sneak.
What?
Yes, exactly. This is an enchantment that you can put on your pants or your boots that I don't feel gets enough love. All it does is when you're in shift mode and when you're crouching, sneaking, whatever it's called, you go faster. Like instead of dropping down to 50% speed, you move to like 75% speed or something. And it sounds like such a small thing, but the last time I played on a server, it was with Jacob and Andrew's brother and Arnstein. And Jacob and Andrew's brother got a bunch of Swift Sneak enchantments and he just gave me one. And I've been too lazy to go do the job to go get Swift Sneak, but I hate not having it now. Like, it is such a game changer. You don't realize how nice it is to be able to like, be placing a roof and crouch so you don't fall off and be able to just like pop, 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 pop. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And I feel like I heard not only did I not hear a lot of love for it, I feel like I heard a bunch of people being like, this is a stupid enchantment on the internet when it came out. I understand that there was a string of updates that were kind of all promised to be 1 updates, and then it took 3 updates, and they didn't even deliver on everything they promised initially after 3 full updates. So public opinion was kind of meh at the time anyway, but I think Swift Sneak deserves drastically more love than it gets.
For sure. I definitely agree. I don't know if I ever knew there was a lot of hate directed towards it.
It could have just been
most of
something
the
I
people I knew.
perceived, but
It's possible. I feel like a lot of us, when we saw it, were like, yes, now that there's like the Soul Sand Valley or whatever, it's like just zoom across the nether. But
right. Oh, that's Soul Speed.
Oh,
which
yeah,
I've
sorry,
also
because
recently fallen in love. Yeah, Soul Speed is also fantastic.
So I might not know what I was talking about. I don't know if there was. I was getting them mixed up.
Yeah,
Ignore what
sometimes,
I said.
sometimes when I'm doing stuff on the channel and I want to like widen my field of view, but I don't feel like going into settings and widening the field of view, I'll just set some soul sand down and hop on it, because when you're in soul speed mode, your field of view widens, and so I'm
Yeah.
able to go, and I'm like, there we go, and then I'll hop off and break it. It's a good little hack.
Yeah, I didn't even know those 2 enchantments existed, so
Well,
I'm afraid might be a lot of the list. We'll see though. Arn, what's your number 5?
these aren't like super ordered, just so everyone's aware. I think most of them are pretty interchangeable for me. Most of my things take place after Village and Pillage or are Village and Pillage features, 1.14. This is one of the big ones that has just like made my life so much easier, is the villager trading revamp. Specifically just being able to change their professions. So like I guess all the profession blocks. So here's the thing, I will always make a case that Minecraft villager trading is way too overpowered.
Oh, it's broken beyond belief.
I feel like it detracts from a lot of mechanics of the game, but at the same time, since it's there, you're kind of stupid if you're not going to use it, and you have like a day to set up your thing. But then once you do that, it's like you're good to go. Because I think before the 1.14, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you bred a villager, they spawned in with a set
profession. Yeah, there was no.
Correct.
Yeah, and you also
Yeah.
couldn't cycle for like enchants or like better trades before locking the first set in.
Right. That's just so insane to me, because this is what I've lived with my entire time. I just can't imagine going back to something like that. Just being able to change what profession they have. I don't know if I can technically include this, but also being able to like drop prices by like healing zombie villagers and stuff. Just like all the trading mechanics were just so overhauled and are so much better now. It's crazy. But that's definitely my number 5, is all that trading stuff.
My first ever really big world that I played in, I had just a massive city town, or a castle city. And so one of the main entrances, there were 2 huge towers and then, a portcullis gate. And one of the towers was functional. You could walk up and, get to the city walls and stuff. And one of them had no actual floors or anything. It was just a giant cylinder, and the bottom was just water. And then way up in the sky, the bottom was all built out of white wool, so it at least kind of looked like a cloud. I just had a villager breeder running every second I was in the game, and so just you'd constantly look up and just be like, oh, there's another one falling out of the sky. And then you just go and just be like, no, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. I'm like King Herod up here just slaughtering babies, waiting for a good villager to oh, it was terrible.
All right, Rob, what's your number 5?
Oh man, he does know what he's doing.
Very simple, very easy, but the new cobblestone and gravel textures.
Ooh,
I don't know if you guys aren't. You probably don't. I mean, on your Kindle Fire whatever, it probably was the old textures. But man, the old cobblestone was rough. Same with the gravel. It was such an eyesore. But like I built everything out of cobblestone back then, so everything was just this ugly amalgamation of disgusting pixels. Oh my god, that'd also be awful if it was pickles. Cobblestone isn't that great now. I usually tend to go stone if I'm going to do something that's stone. But it's so much better and more aesthetic to look at than the old graphic textures.
I remember being kind of annoyed when they changed them. I was like, oh man, no, I like these. And within a couple months, like I went back and like saw a picture of the old graphics, and I was like, this is nauseating. This is horrible to look at.
That was my experience with like Netherrack. I think
the
cobblestone was before my time, but I've definitely like seen it in like YouTube thumbnails and stuff, and it's gnarly.
Yeah, old Netherrack I didn't like the change when it happened either. It took me a while to adjust to it, and then I went back and I was like, how did we live like this?
Just sent you a picture in our group chat if you guys wanted to look at it.
It looks like Pokemon ground texture.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
There's a Geodude somewhere in there.
For me, I really like cobblestone, but only as like a trim or like an accent piece. Right now, in my Let's Play, all the roofs have a cobblestone trim around them, but it's like the only use of cobblestone anywhere. And so like it kind of works as like just a slight accent piece. But yeah, lots of cobblestone gets ugly quick.
And then
Yeah,
there's
I
the
think-
old gravel. Ugh.
I don't know if I remember what old gravel even looks like.
Looks
But
like
yeah, I
the
think for
unknown
me, it's
Pokemon.
like a
Oh my gosh, that's
oh
so much worse. Like at least the old cobblestone looks like cobblestone a little bit.
That's why it's my number
that just
5.
Yeah, the old gravel just looks like a collection of gray pixels.
yeah. I was about to say I don't know if the new one. I feel like I don't register the new one as pixels. It's just like oh, it's gravel. But like looking at that, it's like that's just a bunch of gray and white pixels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, why don't you bring us around to your number 4?
The new updated light level mob spawning mechanics. Probably could have been said better. Essentially, it used to be if the light level was below 7, I believe, or it might have been 7 or below 7, hostile mobs could spawn.
Mhm.
Now it's if the light level is 0 on a block, the mobs can spawn. And so that says 2 things. One, it makes spawn proofing so much easier. You can spread your torches so much wider apart when you're doing torch spam. Just really convenient. And then the other thing is it allows for these crazy. There's a new design that you can do for a slime farm where you don't have to dig underground anymore. You can just go to a swamp and set up a platform that you just drop some redstone torches in, and so it like brings up the light level to like 3, and so nothing will spawn except slimes whose spawning is like they have a weird spawning mechanic, and so you can, and then you just go way up high, and and so you build your farm a little bit off the ground. You go high enough up that platform is the only thing that can spawn, and so it's like you don't have to clear out any of the caves. You don't have to light up all the surrounding area. It's fantastic. Big fan of that change.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all that. But I think for me, like the biggest cool thing about that is just the amount of atmospheric leeway
Mhm.
we have now with like just lighting up a build. It's like, yeah, you can have it like crazy dark with just like a couple candles, and you can make just builds that are so much more moody. Just how you light them is like where my mind immediately goes to. But yeah, I think it's a super good change.
Yeah, I just started playing with shaders. I need to like turn off the shaders sometimes and then just actually go check the light levels because shaders makes things so much darker
Mm-hmm.
that I'm just like,
Mm.
there's no way that like I look at it and I'm like, that is clearly a spawnable area, but it's just that there's a shadow now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having to relearn the game with shaders on, and it's kind of difficult. The torch spam has actually gotten worse because of shaders.
I didn't know this was a thing, so I was still under the moving on to, was it 9 or 7? I can never remember which one.
I think it was 7. I think what they did it because when they rehauled the caves are so massive that it was like, I think it was just like, my guess is when they were like test playing it was like big caves are instantly lethal because just so much will spawn in there, and so I think they introduced glow lichen to give you some slight glowing patches, and then the new mechanics both made it easier to light up the cave for safety, and also just reduced the amount of insane overflow you were getting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Arn,
Well, if we have nothing more to say,
Oh.
I can go because the comments on the night actually goes really well into my next pick.
go ahead.
My number 4 is, I think it was with like whatever the B update was. They updated beds to where you can just right click on them even during the day and it will set your spawn and you don't have to actually sleep through the night in one to respawn.
I
Um,
forgot that was added. I've gotten so used to it. I just was like, this had to have always been here.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but as someone who maybe isn't the best Minecraft player and often dies, being able to just like drop your bed like you don't have to wait for a time, you can just hike around with your bed. And if there's ever a time where it's like, oh, I want to go down into this cave, but it might kill me, you can just drop your bed down, right click, and then head off with not no fear, significantly less fear, because you don't have to hike out 1,000 blocks or wait 20 minutes just to get your spawn and go adventuring. It's made the entire adventuring aspect so much smoother for me, and just a lot more of a nice and streamlined experience rather than just like waiting and killing like my own free time, just being like, well, my options are either go in with extreme risk and maybe die and spend an hour getting my stuff, or significantly lower the consequences, and I can just go in and have fun, which is what I'm playing Minecraft to do. So
Exactly.
yeah, that like updated feature is just so nice for me.
See, I half agree with you. I don't like how now you have to have all the same color wool. Just an inconvenience for me.
Did that change when like you could color beds, or is that more recent?
I
th-
don't know what's recent, so it's probably it's been like that
I
for a while now.
I think
But
that change happened before the being able to place your bed change, because I
Okay.
feel like I've only ever known having to use the same color wool, but I definitely was super excited when I was able to just place the bed and tap it. So
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think I remember ever having like trying to make a bed out of different color wools. Not saying it didn't happen. I just think I'm too young to remember that. But
yeah, I should say the last update I really played was the Villager and Pillager. So right when you were getting in at Arn,
wow.
I kind of played the Nether one a little bit, but yeah, that was the last one I like fully got into.
So yeah, it's probably before my time then.
Same with doors, you know, you could just use any wood to make a door, a wooden door, but now you have to, I mean, at least they have new designs, so that one's the same, but
Mhm.
for the colored wool, I'm just like, just let me use different colors and just give me a red one, like the classic.
I do love the classic red bed. It is by far my favorite of all the bed options.
Generally, I'll dye it red just because it looks nice. Unless I steal one from a villager, which is typically how I get my first bed. Is I'll just be walking through and I'll nab one.
Yeah, that is also a
But
nice ability.
I definitely also just lived with a white bed for the first couple years before I like realized you had to dye it before you have to dye the wool and then make the bed.
My number 4, very simple, but again, I came in, I played Minecraft back in the day when the only thing to eat was basically meat and bread. So for me, the introduction of potatoes and carrots is a game changer. And now wheat is just redundant. Like there's no reason to have a wheat farm or anything because you can get. I just feel like you can get more food for one block of potatoes and carrots, especially if you bake them, than if you make a whole giant wheat farm. So it's so much more efficient, so much easier, and they stack a lot nicer. I don't think bread didn't used to stack, but a lot of things didn't used to stack back in the day. So that's not a thing. But I just like having that, and then it just makes life a lot easier. It's definitely what's the term?
Quality of life.
Yeah, it's definitely a quality of life update for me that I'm always thankful whenever I get a potato or a carrot.
That's fair. My first response to that is tell me you know nothing about mud bricks without telling me you know nothing about mud bricks.
I don't know anything about mud bricks. I think that's a newer
bricks.
thing.
Oh yeah, it's a new block.
You make a
entirely,
bread oven?
So, no, so you can turn dirt into mud, and then if you combine mud and hay or wheat or whatever it's called, you can make packed mud, and then you can make mud bricks, which are just like kind of like stone bricks, but they're a grayish, pinkish hue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a great building choice, something I seriously considered putting on the list, but I went with a different aesthetic block.
Well, see that makes it easy because now again you don't use wheat for food anymore, so that actually makes it useful again that you have something you can make those bundles of hay into something.
Yeah, wheat is purely aesthetic in my world. I have a pretty big wheat field, and it's it's aesthetic unless I need to like real quickly make some more mud blocks or packed mud blocks. So yeah, it's just look pretty. Wheat, I agree. Although it does make because now they have hay bales in the villages, and so early game you can just grab like 10 hay bales and just be like, all right, I'm just gonna eat bread for the first couple days.
And they're nice for making the smoke in a fireplace go higher.
That's true.
Wait, hay bales make the smoke in a fire?
I think you
Yeah,
can put
like
up to 2
doubles the
underneath
smoke.
it, and yeah, if
Oh,
you put
whoa,
2.
that's crazy.
You can do 2.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that part.
I think so. I could be mistaken though.
Ooh, we'll have to look into that.
Mike, what's your
Yeah,
number
we-
3?
Sodium.
That's in the game? Oh my god. I just feel so old.
So sodium, this is a bit of a Lou pick. Miss you, buddy. Sodium is a mod for the game. It is a performance mod that makes Optifine look like you're playing on a smart fridge.
Please, on the Kindle Fire, please.
Yeah, for real. It's amazing. So I started playing the Let's Play world with Optifine, and it ran okay without shaders, but my PC's gotten old enough over time, or my laptop, that it still wasn't running that well. Rob, you sent me that new Horizons mod. I tried to install it, but I think things have changed since the intro or the tutorial video, and so like things that were supposed to just auto download extra mods for you didn't, and I just got frustrated and gave up. But I did end up getting Sodium and the related mods to improve your frame rate and stuff, and the game runs better now with Bliss shaders than it was running with Optifine and no shaders. I can never go back. I do miss having my glass all be one solid texture, but I'm sure there's a texture pack I can find for that. So Optifine, for the longest time, I swore by it. I was like, you can't play Minecraft without Optifine. And now I'm like, it's outdated. It's trash. People have run tests checking your frame rate and the differences, and it's not even close. Sodium is by far the best processing improvement mod that you can pick up.
Does it alter textures like Optifine does, or does it just affect the frame rate?
For the most part, it just affects the frame rate, but with the way they've reworked texture packs to work, where it's like really easy to just go, or it used to be a texture pack was how the game figured out what texture to put on every block. And now you can get a resource pack, which is what I meant to say earlier.
Oh, okay.
And then it'll if I go to Vanilla Tweaks for all my resource packs, I'm going to start branching out and finding other ones to include. So my moss carpet has hanging, so it like hangs halfway down a block. So it's like somewhere in between the standard grass block and the way Optifine used to let you have better grass, where if you had, it would like fully make the like all sides of the grass block green, which is really nice. And then like you can also put it on a trapdoor. So like I'll make trapdoor, like lines of trapdoors as part of the outside, and then I'll hit them with moss blocks or moss carpets, and so you just get these nice hanging moss effects. Really pretty.
Well, Aaron, what's your number 3?
It was between two forest biomes, and I think I'm going to go with the one I use the resources from most often, and that is the taiga forest, which was added along with village and pillage in 1.14. There are a couple features that came with it that I'm going to touch on, but the like major feature that is like, this was why I chose it, is just spruce. The logs, the spruce logs just look so much better, in my opinion, than any other log in the game. If you strip them and dark oak logs are definitely similar, but for me, the just slightly lighter of spruce just makes it a like perfect all-around building block. And then I think I can't really make this argument, but on an objective level, I feel like the spruce doors and trapdoors are probably the best ones in the game.
Best ones, no question.
Lacking a window hole, I don't think necessarily makes them better, but just the texturing on them makes them so much better than the other ones. It's the one that for me actually feels like, oh, this is a door and this can stop a zombie punching down my door or whatever. They feel solid, and the same thing with the trapdoors. You can use them to texture basically anything. I use them as boat floors or walls.
Boat floors
all
are
the
great,
time,
yep.
just because the texturing on it is like actual little boards, and it just adds that extra level of detail you can get just from having, like, I don't know what textured would we call it, textured, or my mind is going to Lego where we call it a printed piece. But like having that texturing and that art style on it just makes it such a versatile block. And then the last part of the tree that's just great is I love the leaves. I think they
The
look
leaves are
amazing.
so good too.
They're not
bushes.
they're not vibrant like the oak leaves are, which are good, but mostly for like highlighting or like dispersing unevenly throughout as accents. I feel like the spruce leaves, just as a base leaf color, are probably the best ones in the game. They're just so good. They're not like too vibrant, because like even the dark oak ones are kind of a brighter green, even though they're still pretty dark.
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure vanilla dark oak leaves are just oak leaves, but they show up in your inventory as dark oak leaves. Like, I do not see the
Are you
difference personally. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Um,
It's been a while since I've looked at them. I'm pretty sure they're the same as like they're definitely a green, but they're like a couple shades down from what an oak leaf is, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done a side by side in years. I think when I came to that conclusion, it was 1.12, 1.13. So it's been a minute.
My number 3 is creative mode. Back in the day, it was all the grind, and I like starting out in survival, but then when I actually want to like get down and build stuff, I don't like going back and doing the grind. I know Mike is a big grind person, but I'm not, so being able to just change it to creative mode, and then that's where I find most of my joy in Minecraft is building, makes it a lot more enjoyable when I don't have to go and strip mine for hours, and then hope I get enough coal to make it into stone and this, that, and the other thing.
Sorry, are you still smelting your cobblestone into stone?
Can't you use the stone things now?
So if you get silk touch, you can just
Wait,
you can just mine.
You have to farm the enchantments.
No, I get it, but like, farming the enchantments is a lot quicker in the long run. But I guess I play for the long run. If you do more of a, do you do more the 2 week Minecraft phase?
Yeah, that's what I said. I get the 2 weeks, so I don't have time to be going and grinding. So I just want to go on and play. So if I'm playing with friends, it's usually more survival. But like my own personal worlds, it's creative.
That's fair.
And then if I get a silkstone pickaxe, then I also have to get the mending one on the top of it. So it's like, man, that's even more grinding I have to do. When I can just do / game mode creative, Yeah, I never got into the village farming.
It's I mean, I've done one villager so far in my world that I grinded to get the right enchantment on, and I went slowly insane doing that process.
I remember that montage.
I was dude, there was so much cut footage from that. Like, I just took the best moments and the least profane moments, but like I was going completely nuts.
Not a good time.
Are you guys both survival purists?
I wouldn't say purists. I have nothing wrong with creative mode, but like if I'm playing in survival, I won't use creative to give myself something that I would otherwise have to work for. Sometimes there's like weird things where like the game glitches sometimes, like you go into the end and the you just get spawned in the void and like the platform doesn't spawn, and then you lose everything, and I'm like, okay, I'll use creative to get my stuff back if like something that was actually not my fault happens, and it like I lose a bunch of like valuable stuff. Especially now that I'm doing a let's play, it feels like it would be, people say cheating. I don't think it's cheating, but like you have to be honest with your viewership about where everything comes from, because otherwise you're kind of misleading them and being like, look what I did when you didn't. And so and I the thing that kept me playing Minecraft past the initial like phase was I found some YouTubers who played like that, and so it became something where it was like, okay, for me it's important to do this in survival, but there is absolutely a place for creative. I do a lot of test building in creative, and like I'll try a couple ideas out and then be like, oh cool, I can use this in survival, and then I'll go and I'll have it as a reference.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere along the same lines, maybe a little bit further towards the like pro creative. There we go. Don't want to say those too close together. As I said before, I started out on creative, and I still really enjoy it. For me, it's more so like I'm not the hugest like visual arts person, I guess, at least when like creating visual art, which for me is like what I view creative more geared towards. What I really like about survival is that it has like all those gameplay elements, which I'm not a huge gamer either, but it's like a perfect blend of the two, where I feel like I'm making like real progress, and like I'm getting all of these things and I'm getting better at getting better gear and stuff, and then at the same time I'm making really beautiful buildings, and I'm working on my own, not like big project, but my own little pretty world, which in creative it doesn't have that like survival gameplay element to fall back on when I feel like I'm in a bit of a creative slump. So I feel like I forget creative worlds more, or I lose interest in them faster, because for me Minecraft is a blend of the creative and the grind. And if it's just the creative or just the grind, I tend to lose interest. But I totally see the value of creative. I just don't think it's necessarily my thing 100%.
Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is something that technically is not in the game yet, but I'm really excited for the new update to drop. And it is the variations of the tuft block. I really like the new tuft block. It's one of the deep dark blocks that they added in, the lower elements of geology. it's a slightly darker gray than the cobble and the regular stone texture, which I'm always about expanding the scope of the gray tones that we have to work with. And it was a fine block on its own in the last update or whenever it dropped. It was in the Caves and Cliff triple update saga that I mentioned earlier. But in this new update 1.21, it's you can get like the chiseled version, a smooth version, the brick version. And I really like the tone of the gray. And as somebody who likes to build medieval and medieval adjacent style buildings, it's going to be so good. Wells Knight is one of my favorite YouTubers. Hasn't uploaded in a minute. Hoping he's doing well, but he's been using a lot of tough in his castle that he's been building lately, and it's just I'm so excited to get my hands on it.
I haven't played in a minute, but I haven't been keeping track of stuff. I didn't even know they were updating that. That's really cool. I definitely agree that like Tuft it's a very nice like extra gray block to have because it's slightly textured and a slightly different shade. It's like more of a pastel gray, and it kind of like avoids having that like just wall of gray problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't used it a whole lot, but I definitely have grown to appreciate it. And you can insta-mine it, which is one of the only things below Y0 now that you can insta-mine.
And that's the other thing too, is it's like because you find in those huge pockets, it's not going to be a total pain to have to grind for, even though it has that potential.
Yeah, it'll be like gravel.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Arn, what's your number 2?
I think it falls under the category of one feature, but it's the cave update, specifically to like the caves part of it and like the cave generation. Is probably one of like it's definitely one of the biggest changes and probably one of the most fun changes that's been done to Minecraft, at least since I've been playing. Just having so much more going on underneath the ground is just so cool to me, and especially just like the scale these caves can reach is just crazy. There are a couple of different types of caves they added. I did some like cursory research just going over it, and Mojang talked about they have like their spaghetti caves, something caves, and like Swiss cheese caves. I am definitely a Swiss cheese cake, cave type person. My bad. Those are the ones where like it's this massive cave, and then there's like the pillars supporting it.
Yeah, those are so good.
And it looks kind of like the mines of Moria, and it's awesome. It's like you're mining, and then you suddenly find just this absolutely massive, unexplored underground area, and then you got to go get 8 billion stacks of torches, and then just start exploring. It's definitely like the biggest adventure boost for me in Minecraft, because before then it's like, okay, going down was much more of a chore, where it's like, I'm gonna dig this hole to Y60 or Y12, sorry, and then you just pick a direction and you go. And then once they updated all of this, it's first off, you get an extra 64 blocks that you can go down, and then new stone types you can find. But then anywhere you're digging, you could run into something, and then especially just being able to access them from the surface is like the biggest thing for me. Going back and looking at like what caves were like before they overhauled them is just one of the most pathetic things I have ever done. Because I went and looked at them and I was like, oh my gosh, so many memories of like younger Arn going and finding a cave, and it goes down like 30 blocks and you get like a little bit of coal and a little bit of iron, and then it's done. And then now it's like you find a cave and 3 hours of your life have been sunk into exploring this massive, unexplored new area. And like for me, that's what Minecraft has always been. It's been a game about exploration and like finding new stuff. And it feels like you get to be those explorers from ye olden days who went and discovered the Americas for the first time or something. It's like you're going into this world and you're the first person there, and the world is your oyster, and you're going out and exploring. And that's what the caves are to me. Just like an endless playground full of cool stuff that you get to go and find for the first time. And yeah, it's just, they're grandiose, they're intricate, they're small. Some of them are filled with water, and that's scary, but it's awesome.
Have you found an underwater Swiss cheese cave yet?
I don't think so.
It's an experience.
Yeah, I definitely found one in one of those caves, but I don't know if I've found one that's like submerged pillars. I assume is what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
like it's like the entire thing is just there's water, and you got like the magma cubes. So you got the pillars, not the pillars, but the bubble columns, and
Yeah.
yeah, super cool.
My number 2 actually isn't in the game anymore. They patched it out, and this is back when I did survival. But I just love the old AFK fishing farms. So simple, so nice, and so useful. You just leave your computer on all night and then come back with just chests full of useful stuff and enchantments. So then you didn't have to go through the whole villager thing. And man, it was so nice. It made me keep on playing survival mode better because it was kind of the more grindy things that you would get off of this. So I really enjoyed it. I missed it, and survival hasn't been the same for me since then. Also, that would give me a bunch of food too. So screw wheat, screw bread. Yeah, I think they patched it out. I think it made it through the village and pillage. I don't think it made it through whatever was after that. I think the aquatics. No, I don't know.
They keep patching it out. People keep coming up with like crazier and crazier ways to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
But the most recent version of like a true AFK fish farm, I looked at it and I was like, not worth it.
It's no longer just simple. Like it used to be like 6 blocks. That's all you need. And it was easy and very efficient.
Couldn't you get everything from like a single block of water? Was how they used to work. That's so crazy.
Now the only downside, the only downside was if you're playing on a server and there's one person AFKing, and then you're just like, "Come on, I want to sleep, get this night over," but you couldn't because they were AFKing unless you had a mod that kicked them if they were, didn't move for 5 minutes or whatever. But
there are ways. I know when we had a realm time during COVID lockdown, and one of the things we went in and changed was you don't even need a mod. It's just like a command, but you set it so that you only need one person to sleep through the night. And
that's nice.
Oh, game changer. I think now it's in like the world settings too. Like you can go in and it's even easier to change now than it ever has been.
Yeah, I've never been much of a fisherman, but I mean, I definitely see where Mojang was coming from with patching that out. But also,
I get it.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's fair either way, but like that's a pretty nice quality of life thing.
Yeah, and it'd give you XP too. That's another thing I forgot to touch on. But in my opinion, it's like, if you didn't want to use it, it didn't really mess with the integrity of the game. Like you could just choose not to AFK fish farm, because there's farms for everything else. So like, just let us fishermen be.
Yeah.
Sell fishes, but
Honestly, I wouldn't even care if they found a way to make it so you needed a block that was way harder to get. Like I'd be cool with it. Like if they found a way to make it end game only,
like
or even like
they have the dragon egg or
like,
something, so then there can only be one in the world or something.
Yeah, something or like maybe that mechanic still works, but only in the end. So it's like cool. You have to play through the game, get to the end, and then it gives you another reason to be in the end, which there isn't a lot of. I will say, Grian got me into for a little bit. He got me into the life of just actually Minecraft fishing.
You jumped on the hype train, the bandwagon.
I did. It was more of a let's see how this goes, and it was kind of nice for a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 days of messing with that, and I was like, okay, this has been fun.
Never doing it again.
Probably.
Did you ever get your mending book, Mike?
No. My goodness, no. That was so much fun to watch. Just the slow decline in his sanity. It was so good.
Yeah, and the chamber of
chamber of secrets was so good.
Yeah.
Rip old achievement hunter. During their Minecraft days, they did a fishing tournament once in Minecraft.
Of like who could get the most stuff, or
like the fish had different points depending on rarity. So they would, this group of like 6 guys. So they would just go out and fish for like an hour and see who won, and then the winner would get a tower of pimps.
That's funny.
Well, Mike, bring us around to number 1.
My number 1 favorite added feature, without a doubt, is having doors and trapdoors for every type of wood. When I started playing, it was just the oak door and the trapdoor, or what we know is the oak door and the oak trapdoor. It was the only door. It was the door and the trapdoor. And
there's an iron door, sir.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there was an iron door.
Keeps mobs out.
Don't mind it. Yeah, if you're playing in, yes, there was. You are correct. Not very rarely worth it unless you were playing on hard, but it had its purpose, I suppose. But I actually ended up playing with what was a texture pack at the time, which was a way less convenient version of what is now resource packs. that essentially turned the only trapdoor you could get into an oak colored spruce trapdoor. So I was running the spruce trapdoors before they were even a thing because it's such a superior texture for the trapdoor. And then when they announced we're gonna have a custom trapdoor for every single type of wood, game changer. The amount of stuff you could do, having those different color variants just allowed for so much creativity and just vibrance to your world that previously wasn't available. Because the thing about the trapdoor is it's a quarter slab, and so you can use it to make thin walls or interiors, and just there's so many different things. You can make barrels. I know some people will take like a piece of prismarine and put 4 trapdoors around it, and so it just looks like a barrel of fish. So many good options, and yeah, trapdoors and doors being coming in every color. Fantastic choice.
Is the texturing on a prismarine block fish?
No, but it's very very similar. And if you build a fish stand, and so like for example, you could like cut not hut, but what the heck are they called? Just like a pop up shop. You know, it's like you got the
A
little
stack? I don't know.
like you got the little roof made of wool over your head, and so what you could do is you could be like, all right, I'm gonna put ice blocks down, and then I'll put fish in item frames. You know, and so it's like, oh yeah, we got some fish on ice, and then when you have that visual, you look past it and you see the barrel of prismarine, and you're able to be like, oh, that's a bunch of fish all blending in together. Like it would represent it in such a way that
Mhm.
your mind could do it if you had other things around to represent and like get you to think fish.
Yeah, I just pulled up an image and I can definitely see like how you could trick your brain into seeing that.
Yeah, because I think it's supposed to look like scales anyway.
Mhm.
So,
But for a second there, I definitely had like a panicked is prismarine like a fish Brit, and I just missed it this whole time.
oh no, it's just it's something you can do to try and add some immersion.
Well, Arn, what is your number one?
My number one, which honestly it's pretty close in like level of how much I like it to the caves that I talked about, but I might put it like a point behind. As I said, I didn't structure these properly, but it's the Deep Dark City. For a lot of the same reasons as the caves. Just knowing that like these things, these massive underground cities are out there makes exploring caves, especially down in the deep dark where sometimes it can be a bit of a pain digging through some stuff. But it makes exploring them so much it makes exploring the caves so much better. And then if you stumble on one, especially like you get like some tendrils of skulk as you're heading in, and then you're like,
Mhm.
okay, this could be it. And then when you find one, it's like one of the craziest feelings just because like you've discovered this massive thing that's new and unexplored, but
And
definitely
can
just like
kill you fast.
and can it can kill you fast. And that's something that I think Minecraft doesn't lack, but it lacks like the scary creepy factor I think for a lot of
Mhm.
dangerous things isn't there. And for the Deep Dark City, I think it just absolutely nails it because every step you make could technically kill you. It's like you get 3 mistakes and then you're essentially dead. And it's such a experience going through it because you have to sneak, you have to use wool, you have to be very careful about everything you're doing, and it's not something that you can easily cheese like a lot of things you can in Minecraft.
Mhm.
So you have to play it by Mojang's rules, and it makes the experience so much better of you're going to go through this city and it's going to be terrifying and you're probably going to wake up a warden at least once, but you might escape. And you're going to get some of what is, I think,
Yes.
arguably some of the best loot in the game. And also, it definitely feels like the best loot in the game because of what you went through to get it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Deep Dark City is probably one of my favorite additions.
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten into one. Jacob and Andrew's brother was all about it when we were on the server. But Skulk, man, Skulk was one I seriously considered too. I adore that block. To have a block in the game that is essentially like a twinkling night sky in a block.
Hmm.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to learn how to make a Skulk farm. I imagine it's gonna have to be like a second like ender to provide all
Hmm.
the necessary XP. But ooh man, there's just so many cool and like I love blocks that you can use to add to the mystical factor. I think that's something Minecraft didn't have a ton of when I started, and it's starting to pick up lately, and I love it. I'm inspired. I might have to go find one now.
Well, Rob, you ready to take us home?
Dude, I am so surprised that no one said my number one. Like, I had my cursor hovering over the objection every single time. And I guess I looked it up, and I guess it's a lot older than I thought, so I started playing earlier than I thought. But it's a twofer, so you, at least Mike, I think, will have experience for one of them. But it's just the faster overworld traveling, and by that I mean sprinting and the elytra.
Sprinting wasn't a thing initially?
Sprinting was added in 2011. I remember playing without sprinting, and oh my goodness, it was a slog to get anywhere. Rail carts were the answer, but
that explains why people ever used rail carts.
Yeah, like it. I for sure I didn't think it was 2011 because, like I said, I thought I played in 2012, but I guess I played back then too because I didn't have sprinting then. But I for sure thought that would be taken. Or the elytra too is even just made it so much easier, and then like forced you to get creeper farms so you can get the gunpowder, and then you would have the sugarcane farms, and so you just be cranking out the freaking fireworks. But that is another reason to play survival is now that you like. Flying around isn't as big as a challenge because you can just get elytras, get like triple power fireworks, and it just makes life so much easier getting from one place to the next. And especially if like exploring, it's easy to go places, but also with the elytra, it's easy to get lost, and it just adds a whole fun element. And like I said, sprinting was a literal game changer.
Yeah, that's wild. I had no idea. My goodness, I'd lose my mind if I couldn't sprint. I'm a fiend for moving around quick in a video game. And I use elytra so weird. I do use it to travel, but I also use it for like, in Harry Potter when Fred and George finally become like adult wizards and they're able to just apparate, and they just apparate like everywhere, and it's annoying. That's how I am with elytra. Like I'll be like, I need to get 15 blocks over. Pew! Or I hate scaffolding when I'm building, so I'll try 5 times to land on the top of my build, so rather than just pillar up with dirt. Yeah, elytra it is fantastic. The reason I didn't think to add elytra, I guess, is because elytra predated me.
It wasn't in the original Xbox one. I mean, I guess it depends on when you got on Xbox, but I don't remember
By the
being
time
on the
I got on
360
Xbox, it had been added to it.
Okay.
But even then, I didn't get my first elytra until I was on PC.
Yeah, that's like the only reason I'll go to the end cities for the most part is to get the elytra.
The elytra, and honestly, if you grind out a few shulker boxes, those are so nice.
Yeah, shulker boxes are. That's honorable mention. Shulker boxes. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, and then one thing me and my friends would do, we'd have like dog fights with the elytra. We'd all like start off different things and just hunt each other. So I've had really fun with the elytra and things like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories was when we were playing on the COVID shutdown server. Me and Jacob and Andrew's brother were flying around for something, and I would always just goof around and like shoot arrows while we were flying because it's so hard to hit anything with a bow while you're moving on the elytra, and to hit another person in the elytra it's so difficult. And so I was just shooting arrows by him, and I accidentally one-shot him out of the sky.
Rip.
And it was like, I couldn't do that again if I tried, man. I'm so sorry.
Hot guy.
Hot guy.
Aaron, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Top Podcast. Do you have anything you want to shout out or anything before you leave?
I don't think I got too much. I'm just vibing over here. So yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a great time.
Well,
thanks for
thank
being
you.
our topper.
Our live audience wants to say something right quick.
Live audience. Okay. Hit me.
Hi, Art.
Hi, Becca.
That was it. That was the whole something I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you, live audience.
Well,
Bye.
next week you guys can join us as we do a deep dive with the live audience member, except she'll be in her own room, hopefully, not just underfoot. But
Unnecessary.
but we'll be doing a look at Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and my first read through it. So join us next week. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give us a like, comment, subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a 5-star review and leave a comment, and we'll read it off on the podcast. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace be with you.
Bye.
See you later, toppers. Peace out.
Nice.
Someone was supposed
Talk
to
your
say,
dogs.
and also with you. Huh? What?